Hey guys, hope you had a happy new year, happy holiday season. I know I did, and I hope you had a great 6 months, because I wasn't there for it. Today, we're starting off the new year, 2018, finally getting back to the videos, and we're actually starting all off with Imorden's carbon fiber professional slider. The name Imorden might sound a bit familiar. I did a review on their really handy dandy shoulder sling, the Falcon F2, and if you watch that, you know that I made a really big point about their joint mechanism that doubled as a deli-style meat slicer. I cut my hands on it multiple times. They actually sent me a brand new, unsharpened joint. And I guess they made a pretty big deal about this. They mentioned it on their Instagram, how they are working on it. They even showed some images of them dulling down the edges that caused the problem. They contacted me, asked me for a shipping address to send me one. As far as I know, it seemed as though that they were doing this for anyone who actually bought it. So I actually took that opportunity when they contacted me to ask them to send me this carbon fiber slider to do a review on. So they have a few variants. They have an aluminum Pro, and then their carbon fiber. The aluminum ones have a much smaller slider. It's probably about yay big, and it's just a little more limited on what you can put on there, of course. In addition to it being aluminum, it is lightweight, but it's not nearly as strong as the carbon fiber. The Pro for the carbon fiber, it has not only the bigger slider right here, it has these really nice adjustable legs, which I'll talk about, but also, you know, if you know, carbon fiber is really lightweight and really strong, so you have much less bend and warp with the heavier items you're putting on here than you would with aluminum.
They also have a 32 and a 48 inch. This is a 40 inch model, but that is 40 inches from the end here on each side, as you'll see, not including the legs. So the poles, or the rails themselves, are actually only about 39 inches. So you have about 39 inches of rail, but because of the large size of this platform here, you're only getting about 33 and a half inches of actual movement. Now, one of the great things about this slider is just how much you can do with it. Now, this is a huge jump from their aluminum and their aluminum Pro. Both aluminum models have a pretty small platform, and overall the whole size of it is pretty small with very little to work with. They designed this model with the intention for you to do whatever you feel that you need to do with it. That's what it seems like, at least. They have on the platform itself a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 usable screw holes, 6 3/8 screws, and 2 1/4 inch screw holes. So right there alone, just with the platform, there's a ton to work with in case you have a really large rig. The bottom right here, you do have a 3/8 inch screw hole in the middle, one on 2 different corners, and then another 2 1/4 screw holes, one on opposite corners right there. On each side of this thing, you have another big old group of holes. So many holes to work with, so many things to do. When you have this many holes, what can you not do? You have so many holes. That's a lot of holes to work with. You got plenty of holes. You're not gonna ask for more holes. You have enough holes. All 5 of these, one in the middle and then on the corners right there, are 1/4 inch screw holes. No screw holes on the bottom there. I kind of wish there was on each side, or the top. But overall, yeah, you got a lot to work with. On the top here, you do have the 1/4 inch screw, but of course it does come with an adapter that you can either use on the top here for your ball head, fluid head mount that you like to put on top, or you can use on the bottom. Using this thing, it's quite nice. It does seem, I've noticed that even though it is very slidey, and it does work better when you have a weight on it, pushing down on it kind of gives it a bit more of the slidiness, the slipperiness. And I've noticed that there is a slight variation. This could vary by model or by product. I notice it's a bit slidier on one side than it is on the other. See how that just stops a bit more? Now that is definitely a quality issue for sure. It should be absolutely 100% consistent all the way through. That would reflect a really good quality product here. It is very slight though. It's not something that you're going to even really notice in use. I tried it, and when I had, you know, my fluid head ball mount, even someone that's generally lighter compared to the more popular ones out there, and then a lighter camera with a lighter lens on top, and finally used it, I didn't notice any real variation between the slidiness on each side. So it's just a little bit concerning, because it definitely does mean that there is a consistency issue with their product here.
What I have set up right here, and this is what I did with some of my shots, is that I have a two cheapo light stands with a sort of L bracket that you would normally use for a speed light on top, and an umbrella holder, so you can kind of move it up and down. This I don't think is the best way, because it goes right, but it doesn't go any lower than 90 degrees. I'm gonna work on that, see what else I can do. This is what I tried. It worked out for the majority of shots, but I would like to figure out how I can get this slanted. On the slider itself, you have a bubble level, which is, you know, I guess handy. And you have your stopper right here. Now, just to make sure, if anyone is confused that they haven't had a slider before, this does not adjust tension. This is not going to make it go slower or smoother or faster or anything like that. It is really for the sole purpose of stopping it in its place. There is no adjustment at the speed or the smoothness of this slider. It just goes or it doesn't. With that said, the slidingness is very smooth. It's very nice. Most of it is going to be having to do with your hand and your control. A steady hand, you go ahead and move it in place, but this keeps it very straight. It's very tight on the rails here, so you don't have any looseness, any rockiness at all of the slider on these two rails. Now, when I have a pretty cheapo fluid head mount right here by Yeti. I'll probably do a video review on it soon once I get a professional level fluid head mount to compare it to. Now, I tried this with my 7D that I'm using to film right now with this fluid head mount, and I got a pretty good experience. This was my first time working with a slider personally, and it was there's definitely a learning curve for sure. I had to do several attempts on some shots that I wanted. And it does get kind of frustrating at times, because you can just slightly see that little rockiness, where the stop was just too abrupt, or your hand wasn't steady enough to get that smooth glide, consistent speed, and everything like that. It's hard to do, but it's definitely something that you can get better at in just taking a few shots. With all that said, it is fun. It is absolutely fun getting that really awesome, unique shot that you can really only get with an actual slider.
Look at these legs here. So these are quite handy. You can pretty much do whatever you would think you can do with these legs, in that they have a pretty great deal of range with their length variation. So you will almost always be able to get a nice steady shot if you plan on just using this alone, rather than trying to get a whole tripod setup, you know, legs on each side type of thing. Another great thing about this is that you can go absolutely fold it in right there, each one. Oh, come on, Devon, come on. Right there, just like that. So it makes it nice and compact, out of the way when you're trying to store the thing in the nice little carry case that they gave you. I will say though about the carry case, it's a bit big. Hold it in, bam, right there. As you can see, it's like just an oversized coffin, just way too big. This is relatively okay though. This isn't necessarily bad, because you could easily, I believe, fit some lightweight light stands in here that you may want to use for setting this thing up. So that added space in the bag is a I guess it's convenient. I don't want to carry all that equipment for what I want to do, so to me it's just kind of like, wow, this is excessive. But I imagine for most users this is going to be useful.
So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you liked the video. If you did, make sure to let me know with that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. I'm going to be putting out a lot more videos now that I have a much better place with an incredible echo.